Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talks with Gallagher, where we have conversations that inspire and empower. And today I have a frequent guest, and I'm so honored to have Craig Miller with us again today. And if you don't know him from previous broadcasts, he has been in the um, ministering and counseling with individuals and families and couples in the medical and mental health and church settings for over 46 years. And he is authoritative voice on these variety of subjects, and also with his insight and experience with identifying the root causes of trauma that can block healing, and also with seeing the emotional connections between physical healing, and with your own experience with your own physical healing has deepened your passion to help people receive their own healing and restoration through teaching, impartation, and ministering through the love and healing power of Jesus. And so today we're going to be focusing on healing relationships, which is a really important topic. And especially as we're getting close to the holidays, I think this is a perfect topic to talk about because we're all going to be, interacting with our family to some capacity in a more of potentially with people or families, that will be gathered together during the holidays for Christmas closer. So I think this is a terrific topic to focus on during the holidays, which we hope that this will be a benefit and an encouragement and a practical help for you personally navigate your relationships, whether that's your family members, friends, or coworkers. So thank you so much, Craig Miller, for being with us today. You have the floor.
You're welcome, John. It's always an honor to be here and enjoy sharing with people what God's given me and all the years of my experience. So we were talking about before about actual physical and emotional healing, and I want to segue that into relationship healing and especially emotional stuff with children
Mm.
and dealing with children, teenagers, of course, and then maybe even couples. And that may be a whole nother session. We'll see how this one goes.
Yeah.
But so I want to give a background first about the developmental stages of kids. I want to be able to, so I'll make sure we're connected here. I think
Yeah,
we lost our
I can
connection
see,
for a moment.
yes, I can see. Yes, I can see you and hear you, but you did glitch there just a second ago. But I can hear
Okay,
you and
good,
see you.
good. Yeah, so it's always interesting to be called a glitch.
Oh.
Recognize what we're dealing with. We gotta recognize what we're dealing with. We start out with our children, for example.
You're back.
Okay, so where do we want to go from here?
That's a great question. Let's yeah, continue on this topic and hope for the best. And if you
Can
glitch,
you are you able to cut and paste?
I am able to cut and paste. Well, not on the stream necessarily, but on the audio podcast, and I can edit it later on video. Yes.
Okay, so what's really important, uh, John, is the fact that from ages 0 to 3, the mom is the most important, where it provides a comfort, a sense of reassurance, breastfeeding and holding and so on, because the mom really creates more of the comfort in the relationship,
Mm,
whereas the father more creates the worth in terms of how we feel about ourselves. So what's interesting is that between the ages then of 3 and 4, the children push the mom away in so many ways, and then they go after the dad to look for something greater than themselves, kind of that authority figure. Where the girls want to marry, for example, this Wonder Man, and the dad wants to, and the boy wants to emulate them, like a little tool belt, and do the same thing. So the
mm,
prayer is that at age 2 and 3, 1, 2, and 3, it's really sad, but and maybe fortunate, but depending on how comforted you are and what type of a comforting parent you are, that can determine the sense of security you have later in the rest of your life.
mm,
Now, that doesn't mean you can't change that. You can make that better. But the point is that between those ages, we're just an emotional being. We don't have a lot of logic yet until we hit puberty, 11 and 12. Our brain doesn't start developing to about 11 and 12. So
mm,
whatever happens emotionally, so if there's a lot of yelling and chaos going on, I'm going to be an afraid little child because I don't understand what's happening. And
mm,
because children are very narcissistic, it's really all about them.
mm,
If something happens that they don't understand, like the father comes home or mom comes home upset, has nothing to do with the children,
mm,
and it has everything to do about work, but brings the work home, the kids are going to automatically think there's something wrong with them,
mm,
because they'll always equate that to what's going on with them about how they connect with the world rather than separating it out, which we do as a child. It's not till after puberty, after our mind starts developing, like 13, 14, 15, we start, wait a minute. I haven't seen my dad all day. He comes home upset. So there must be something else going on because I didn't do anything wrong. I
mm,
wasn't with him. So I have that ability to logic it out after puberty. But before, it's all about there's something wrong, definitely up to about age 10. So, but the good thing is, especially then, the prayer is that you would comfort them and help them to see the difference, that they can be loved and they don't have to be afraid of what's going on. Unfortunately, parents are so consumed with whatever the situation's happening at that moment, they don't look beyond themselves to see what the children are acting like or feeling like, and they like pass over that. So kids are very adaptable, even though they're very vulnerable. So what happens is they'll take on that fear, and if mom then all of a sudden or dad becomes happy, they become happy and they put away the old emotion of fear that just happened. The
mm,
problem is it doesn't go away, it just accumulates.
mm,
So as I get older, then and I people that raise their voice, that turns into I don't like conflict, or I don't like authority figures, or people make me afraid. That's where that comes from, because it's an accumulation of stuff that wasn't gotten rid of before. So the
mm,
good other part is if you can't get rid of it as a child and you have it later as an adult, that's
mm.
what I talked about in our previous um, discussion.
Conversation? Yes.
Yeah, about releasing emotional and physical issues.
Hmm.
And regarding old stuff, that's why I recommend this book. All right, Breaking Emotional Barriers to Healing, so we can get rid of the old stuff that's happening within your inside of you. All
Hmm.
right, so we want to
Right.
get rid of the old stuff that's hanging out. Now, so if you are so with children, then that's when between 11 and 16 is when we need to have our first love affair, especially girls.
Hmm.
So girls typically learn an emotional love affair with their dad because their father is the role model, not only of what the representation of a higher power such as God, but it's also a
Hmm.
role model what it likes to be connected to another man. So
Hmm.
children learn two ways about how to have a future relationship. The first way is by what they see, by experiencing, by seeing mom and dad hug each other or how they treat each
Hmm.
other, hopefully very respectful. Kind of a little bit of a joke thing that happened when one of our boys was 13 or so, and you know, you know, he was still young enough that it didn't make sense, but old enough to see that there was some connection. So
Hmm.
he was standing in the living room, being able to see into the kitchen. When I came home from work, I hugged my wife and gave her a kiss in the kitchen. So I was hugging her, and our 13-year-old goes, "Ew, get a room."
Hmm.
And so that's cute. I mean, the point is that, but he was seeing something happening. He saw what it was like to have a man hug his wife. All
Hmm.
right. Now that's a role model. So otherwise, how would you know? How would you know how to love that person? You know.
Yeah, parents. You're saying like parents leading by example has a profound influence on children and how they see love, how they perceive love, how they understand love. So then when they become an adult, they can see the distinction between healthy forms of, or they can recognize, or they can understand maybe consciously and subconsciously how they, how you receive love, how you give love. Is that, I know I'm consolidating a lot, but is that kind of like what you're getting at here?
Yeah. So exactly. So when I've worked with parents regarding their wayward daughter
Mm,
or the daughter that's going out with a questionable boy, that they don't like the boy's got some issues and doesn't love or is not really connecting well. What I'd like to say to the father is, well, go look in the mirror
mm,
because like where were you? Like so I tell fathers if depending the way you are and what they see and what they experience, that's what they're gonna get. That's what they're gonna go out with.
wow, wow. And like
Why would it be any different? Now,
and
now
yeah, go
so
ahead.
now you have to realize that if the parents aren't around, now granted, let's just say the father treated them well, I was there, had dinner with them, talked to them, and wasn't a bad guy, but
Hmm.
it wasn't around much. So they still don't have a really good understanding of what you do, and they don't know how to be treated. Girls, especially girls that are not shown love. In fact, I've got that information here. In fact, so let me share this. Girls and boys with fathers that are available are twice as likely to stay in school and
Mm,
4 times less likely to need uh, emotional issues or treatment for emotional issues and are more likely to have confidence and a sense of worth.
mm,
And now, so it's the opposite if they're not around.
mm,
So if fathers are not around, boys and girls are twice as likely to leave, drop out of school. They're 4 times as likely
wow.
to need emotional issues treatment. And
Mm,
what happens is they don't know how to love a woman, or boys don't know how to love a woman, and girls don't know how to be loved by a guy. So,
mm,
and it's very common that girls that don't have their fathers around are more likely to be flirtatious, to want to get attention from boys
mm,
because they need it. It's all about feeling a need to be loved. So if I don't know how to be loved, I'm going to go get it. And if I sense that my body is worth something through a guy by being flirtatious and I get attention that way, that's how
mm,
I'm going to get it. Rather than having a lot of dignity and a lot of respect for myself, that I'm not going to let them hurt me because I don't have to be afraid of not having a boyfriend, or I don't have to go after them because I'm afraid they won't love me.
Mm,
So I have to love myself enough to realize that I'm so worthy that I can have any guy I want, but I don't have to be the one flirtatious with them. And if they're inappropriate with me, say bug off.
mm,
But the only way to get that is by getting the worth of their dad first, because that's where it starts. It's all from top down. So if this is the father and mother and this is the child, you need to realize that a sense of comfort, worth, respect, a sense of love,
mm,
it all comes from top down. We learn it from parents down. Otherwise, if
mm,
I'm not loved and given respect, then I'm gonna have to go after it. And if my dad is not around, I'm gonna go after it in ways that you're not gonna like.
mm.
So it
Wow.
makes does that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah, that makes sense because I'm thinking about like this current culture and with social media and how, especially it seems like with, it seems like with Gen Zs, where, they want, hearts and likes and, you know, attention from social media, especially from the opposite sex, it seems.
well,
And yeah.
and what's worse is the fact that if they don't get it from if they don't get the role modeling or their sense of correct culture from their
Mm.
mom or dad, guess where they're gonna get it? They're gonna
Outside
get it from
sources.
social media. Like that's
Yeah.
disgusting. So that's why girls have a lot more need of this image issue,
Mm,
because what's happening is they will look to the media and it's all glamorized.
mm,
So they've got to have the right genes, the right hair, the right face, whatever it is, and it's terrible how we hurt ourselves because we're not like them. And they have to realize that most of the stuff on media has all been airbrushed anyway.
yes.
And so they don't get that. They think that's the way they all look. No, they had a. If you go on some media and find out like before and after pictures about makeup, like they're like awful looking. All right, some of these stars. But the point is that we need to be the ones of giving the culture first, not seeking it out and having it in a bad way. So,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That makes complete
all right.
sense.
So then what happens is from 11 to 16, girls will really need that sense of being loved by their dad and their mom, and so when dad has that kind of love affair, sort of like going after the child in an appropriate way and a loving way, and like talking to them, hey, what's going on? How's your day at school?
Mm,
Give them hugs, lift them up, encourage them. What that does is they learn now that's the culture. That's how we're treated.
mm,
So the more the girls are loved, the more they have a sense of worth. The more boys are loved or given attention or instructions of how to fix a car, or
mm.
and girls too. I mean, girls can be learn how to fix a car or chop wood or whatever they want to do. The point is it's the attention. But girls tend to need more of that huggy stuff, more connection.
Affection, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah. Boys can have it too, but they can get more uncomfortable depending on as their age goes. But it's
Mm,
really a matter of good job, wow. So a lot of attention positive and reaffirming. And so Josh McDowell
mm,
did a one time he did a lot of work with kids, and he had one, two, three, four, five, six. There's six A's. That's so for teenagers especially, it'd be affirmation, acceptance, appreciation, affection, availability, and accountability.
mm,
And so all those A's are something that you would do with your child to make them feel that sense of connection and love. And it's all from the top down, right?
right.
So, and then with the boys, especially when you want to have them, same thing with the boys about what they're doing. Like if they make a mistake, say, okay, well, I've done that too. Let's see what we can do to make a difference. I mean, I've heard a lot of stories in my office as a counselor how a dad would get upset, and they would give him a barrage of nasty words because he got the wrong screwdriver. He got a Phillips head instead of a
Mm,
flathead. It's like, so what? But because a lot of times parents will see themselves in their child, if their own father, it's kind of a generational problem. If their own father berated them and because they didn't know the difference, we tend to do the same thing.
mm,
So we've got to get out of our own stuff. Oftentimes we pass on. That's kind of that generational curse thing that's going on. We've got to, so as a spouse or as a parent, if you see your spouse reacting greater than they should be, given the situation, then it probably is true. You
mm,
need to work on, why is your reaction greater than it should be, given this innocent situation?
mm,
So you need to help them work out the amount of emotion. And that emotion is what's come from the past. That's where my book, Breaking Emotional Barriers to Healing, comes in, where you need
mm,
to learn, why am I so angry, upset, short-tempered, not having patience, that kind of a thing. Why am I disrespectful, even to my own flesh and blood? Is because somebody did it to me and I haven't gotten out of it yet.
mm. It's like a toxic cycle that they from like learned behavior that if you that you need to just renew and readjust, right, and get out of that cycle. I mean, that's what it sounds like you're describing, right? And that can come from if unfortunately if your parents have given you that particular example, then it can reflect on your behavior as an adult through other particular interactions, right? Because it's beneath the surface over
Yeah,
time, right?
exactly. And unfortunately, all of that does is put a strain in our relationship between parents,
Mm,
and especially if what's most difficult is single parents, like women or men, trying to raise their children when they have a spouse who they're either divorced or separated, and they're not doing well, they're not treating them well, and the kids come home all upset, or that they didn't get treated well, and you feel totally helpless because you don't live in the same home as that other parent. That's very difficult. I always recommend people to have somebody to talk with. So let's start with that. So what I want to talk about is, what do you do with these difficult situations?
mm,
So let's just say if you're a single parent or a parent who's with the kids a lot because you're either separated, divorced, or the other spouse is gone a lot. I work with a lot of military, or pilots or people that are gone a lot, good chunk of time. And you're the almost like the primary caregiver, even the mom and dad to combined.
mm,
So if a child comes home from your other parents' home, or they come home from school and they've been bullied or something, so telltale signs for children, especially even teenagers, but if they're more sullen, they don't seem to be themselves, they're more argumentative for no reason, they have an attitude. And I tell parents, if a child has an attitude with you or they don't do what they're supposed to do, don't just send them to the room saying, you got an attitude. Well, they have an attitude because there's a problem. Find out what the
mm,
problem is. They say, wow, is there something going on that you want to talk about? You seem to be really upset right now. And they'll probably say, I don't want to talk about it. Or they'll probably shoot something back.
mm.
But you need to be the adult here. It says, so if they've got an attitude, that doesn't mean you're supposed to have one. They're just
Right.
kids. They're working through life. All right. Your job is to navigate life with them. All right. So don't go down to their level and
Mm,
have an attitude with them, because they do. That's just a lot of insecurity in your part as an adult. Right. So let them be kids. Help them work it out. And if they say something that's not nice to you, then just see it as they're upset about something. Find out what they're upset about rather than you acting like a child, like they hurt your feelings. Well, then
mm.
go get help for that.
Right, right. Yeah, you don't want to exemplify weakness as a victim mentality when you're navigating this, right? Because it only corrodes the whole process.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you, John, if I feel hurt by something my 10-year-old says to me and I get hurt by it, then you know what? That's because you were hurt when you were 10 years old and you
Ooh.
never dealt with that. And they're stirring that up. That is
Oh
all that
wow. Wow. Wow.
always. Like, go back, read my book. Read my book. Okay, all right.
Yeah, get that.
You got to work on the stuff because if you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old child says something and you get hurt by it, then chances are it's because you've been hurt when you were a child and you never got that dealt with. So they're stirring up your stuff. Otherwise, you got to recognize that I'm the adult here. They're the child. They're a victim, and I don't have to be a victim just because they are. I need to help to them through their victim stuff. I need to help them with that. That's my job. So if I get hurt in the process, then you need to work on that hurt through somebody else, not through your child.
That's
Right?
good. Yeah, that's good. That's really practical. Yeah.
So I should get off my soapbox now.
No, keep going.
Okay, so all right, so that's number one. So the second thing is, what do I do? Well, first of all, if they come home with an attitude, give them a little bit of time to settle down, then snuggle up to them or go into the room, sit on their bed and say, hey, buddy, hey, whatever pet name you got for them, says, I really love you. And I'm wondering if you've been going through a hard time right now. I'd like to talk to you about it. And they say, I don't want to talk about it. You know what? I've told parents, and I've done this. I'll say, okay, just a moment. I'll go out, get a pillow from my bed, go back into the room. I close the door. I sit at the doorway with my pillow and say, well, I'm not leaving until you talk to me. Because there's something bothering you and it's hurting both of us. And I know it hurts you inside. And now if you're not a good parent, if you yell a lot before, if you have ups and downs a lot, if they think you're going to get mad at them because you have in the past by something they say, or you're not going to like them or something, then they're not going to talk to you at all. You've got to be even keel enough that they trust you, that if they say something, you won't go off. So
Right.
Why should they trust you if the people that have been hurting them, they can't trust them? They got to have somebody that they can trust enough to say what's on their mind without somebody else hurting them. They have to have a sense of peace with that, all right? So you could say, if you have, you know what, I realize I have not been the best before when you tell me something, but I realize I need to change that. And I'm not going to get upset this time. And if you say that, then you need to zip your lip, okay, and allow them to say something, even if it's the other spouse, or I'm sorry, the other parent saying something bad. Don't get upset like, oh, that creep. I can't believe your father acts that way, or I can't believe your mother did that. They're not going to talk to you again. You know why? Because they want a relationship with their other parent, even though you don't. That's your issue. So they want a better relationship with a spouse. But even if they get hurt by them, it's not your job to put them down at the moment that they tell you that. All that does is it makes it more of a strain with you. That means they can't talk to you because they sense that it hurts you. So if it hurts the spouse, hurts the parent that they tell it to, why would they tell you anymore? They already know you don't like the guy or like the woman. So why would they make it worse by telling you? That's why you got to get out of that. Now, that doesn't mean you can't say things like, well, I'm sorry that they do that. I'm sorry that they treat you that way. That's just not right. And you know what? I'm here for you. Do it that way in a calm voice, not really upset, because if you get upset about it, they see you're upset and they don't want to bring it up because they love you and they don't want to get you upset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So, and like I say, it's a teacher or a bully or somebody at school. Remember, they're sullen. There's something wrong. They're different than what they talked about before, how they talked about. They got an attitude. You say, and then do the same thing. It seems like there's something right. There's something not bothering you. You could go sit on their bed, for example, and say, and I'd rather not do this just before they go to bed. Not like, let's say you're in bed and you shut the light off. Don't start talking about this stuff. I would talk about it earlier than that.
Mm.
But if you don't get a chance to talk about it, go in there at nighttime. I always recommend every parent to go in every night, go to the child, sit down on the bed, even if they're a teenager, and sit down next to the bed, go to each child. If you've got 3 kids, I don't care if you have 10 kids, you want to do it to each one of them. I don't care if it takes an hour and a half, and do maybe several minutes or 5 minutes each child. Put your arm around them, like on them, or lay next to them, or sit next to them, put your arm on them to comfort them, show them that you're there. The lights are low, all right? So, and you want to do like 3 or 4 things. Like, number one, you want to give them a compliment. Even if the day was rough, even if they had a bad day with you, just say, Johnny, I really love you. I know things weren't as good today, but I'm going to still love you. Because you want them to go to bed with a positive note from you, from top down.
Hmm.
They need to know that you still love them in spite of the way they are. You may not like, you say, you know what? I know we both don't always like the way things are, but I still love you. And we can talk about it another time. But I want to let you know I love you. And say a prayer with them, maybe an encouraging word, ask them how their day was in general, if you don't do it earlier, and then give them a kiss goodnight and tuck them in.
Hmm.
And that should be every night.
Hmm.
So I did that with our kids from day one. We would do that. We had 2 boys, and we would do that. And even when my older son had a loft, his loft was like up here, I had to stand on a chair to do that with him.
Oh, wow.
But the cool thing is, we were downstairs. My wife and I were, I don't know, watching TV or talking, whatever. And one of my sons was 16. And by the way, he wouldn't let us kiss him anymore because he was too old for that. But we did everything else. So he would come up to the top of the stairs and he'd say, "Who's going to pray with me tonight?" So he was going to bed and he was letting us know. Oh, so I got up and I ran upstairs and did a ritual. But he was letting us know because he saw it as something important enough to let us know that he wanted it.
Wow.
And 16.
Instinctively knew. Wow.
Right. So you got to create that worth. That means he's worth enough, and he wanted that because he was going to bed. That means otherwise he would have just gone to bed and not cared. So I always ask people, did you feel loved by your parents? And most everybody says yes. I said, well, how did you feel loved? What happened that made you feel loved? Did your parents say, I love you? Well, not really much. Did they hug you for no reason? Well, no. Well, who hugged who before you went to bed? Well, I went to them and hugged them. So what happens is that's creating a sense of love. Everybody feels loved, but I create the love, not from top down, it's from bottom up. So then from now on, I have to find a man that I can find love and give love to rather than me being loved by them. I'm doing all the work. And that's what I learned. And that's what I do in other relationships. That's why women oftentimes do all the work in the relationship and let the men not love them as much and wonder after they have kids, why doesn't my husband love him? Well, you married him that way.
Yeah, that's his capacity, right?
Well, it's unfortunate, but that doesn't mean it can't change, all right? It can change. That's why in this book, if you married a man that doesn't love much or doesn't know how to love, then this is a book. It's when your mate's emotionally unavailable. All right? So that's something you might want to think about getting, all right? And these are all on Amazon. And you can go to my website, insightsfromtheheart.com. Insights with an S. Insightsfromtheheart.com. And I've got a lot of information on that, on there from that. So
that's good.
Okay, so what's important is to recognize that if you have not been loved your child, just realize, or if you feel there's a distance there, always remember, it's never too late to learn how to love your child, all right? It's never too late to learn how to be loved, how to give love, and you just have to start doing it and just start realizing that I can start giving compliments and so on to my kids. Now, let's go a little bit earlier. So let's just say with teenagers, the most important time with that. I have some information. That's an identity stage. The identity stage where they're learning to be loved, they're learning to build relationships. It needs to have a lot of encouragement during that time. There needs to be of uh, more of an encouragement about what they need to do and how they've done it, and kind of a learning stage. They need to also show respect. So how you show respect, like opening a car door for the mom, or the like I did with my teenagers, so am I hugging my wife, that kind of a thing.
Being a gentleman.
Yeah, like what does that look like, right?
Hmm.
Depending, if you want your daughter to be treated and go out with a man that has integrity, they've got to learn that, and it's never too late to learn it, right? You just got to start doing it, and you wonder. So I asked them when I work with parents, why aren't you doing it? Like, where did you not learn it? So to begin to learn, that's where I oftentimes when I have kids, when parents come to me with children that have a lot of problems,
Mm.
emotional problems, behavior problems, attitude problems, wayward issues, so on. I begin counseling the parents. I begin to counsel the
Right.
parents to help them learn what can they be different from what they did before,
Mm.
which probably brought the child into this point. Now, I hate to make it
Mm.
all the parents' fault per se, but it also, a big part of it is what do the children read, what do they see, what are they involved in.
Mm.
If children don't feel, if they don't feel belonging, then they're going to belong. If they don't feel belonged, like parents aren't around a lot. Like, for example, I really recommend that whatever age it is, even up to teenagers, the two most important things that parents can do, number one, is have a meal, at least one meal for the whole family,
Mm.
right? And in that meal, especially when they're younger, what I do is I have the parents create this where they go around the room, they go around the table, and ask everybody, what's your high? It's like it's really playing like a game. The game is the high-low game. So what's your high of the day? What's your low of the day? So what happened that was good of the
Mm.
day? What was happened that was not as good? And the parents do the same thing. It's all age appropriate. Obviously, you wouldn't talk about really bad stuff in front of your kids, and you may need to exaggerate a little bit with the parents. But what you do during that time, John, is you would encourage the child. Like they say, well, I got an A in my spelling. Oh, that is awesome. Good job. What was it like to get an A? And then when they, well, I didn't do so well. I got a D in my spelling. Oh, that's too bad.
Mm. Mm.
Well, all right. So what can we do to improve that? And you don't have to go into a dissertation during that time. Just encourage them, build them up somehow. Because with children, the more you build them up, the more they're getting attention. And the more they're getting
Mm.
attention, guess what? They're going to think of things to say during the dining room table
Mm.
discussion at night. That's why then when they become 14 and 15, it'll be normal to talk about how things are going rather
Mm.
than, I don't want to talk about it. How's your day today? Nothing,
Mm.
which is the famous thing, they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, if they didn't learn this is what you do when you have a communication, they're not going to do it when they're 14. All of a sudden, when you think like now that they're an adult, now that they're closer to an adult than a child, I'm going to learn to do it. Well, that doesn't work that way. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Instilling that foundation early on to
Yeah,
make it.
that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to reassure parents, it's never too late to instill it.
Mm.
So when I have, let's say I have a long range, just say there's 3, 4, 5 kids in a family, and I have a teenager who doesn't care about doing this thing, doesn't care about doing high-low, but they also have a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old or 10-year-old at home.
Mm.
So what I tell parents to do, I say, look, talk to your teenager as if they're your helper. So you know what? I need to really help Johnny
Mm.
learn to talk about things better. And I wonder if you'd help us do this by doing the high-low game together. So when we come around, say what your high of the day and low of the day is, and that'll help him, and it'll help us know what's going on.
Yeah, that's really good practical advice, just boiling it down to that to create that conversation and that level of trust.
Now, and that's really of a surface level at the dinner table, because you don't want to get into really deep stuff, and you don't want dinner to be a discouraging time. Now, the more deeper stuff comes with the second recommendation, and then I have a third one actually. The
Okay.
second recommendation is to have family time once a week.
Mm.
Now, and this is really important even when they're teenagers. So, my dad was a very busy man, and he raised us kids. He worked all day, came home, we had dinner together, and then he rested and went out for another meeting. So we didn't do a whole lot with him. He actually watched the news and read the paper during that time. So we didn't do a lot with him.
Mm.
And so I decided I refused to watch the news or read the paper, because we're not going to take that away from my kids.
Mm.
So the point is that once a week, even when they get older, let's say when they're 16, 17, 18, I would still have what we call family time.
Mm.
And we wouldn't talk at all. Kids at that age, they get busy, they have friends. So I said, well, Thursday night at 7:00, we're at family time. I want to be with my friends, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to be playing video games, or this. Okay, that's fine. But when you're done, let's say at 7:30, we're going to meet. Oh, do we have to? Yes. I'm the parent. All right. Now, you need to recognize that. And a lot of times we'll do something. We used to do it as a little kids. We used to do it on Sunday. Like we'd go out after church or whatever. We'd go play putt-putt, or we'd go to the mall, or we would do something together as a family, and always be a surprise. They'd say, well, we're going to have a surprise. We're going to have a surprise family time. And they wouldn't know where we'd go. And on one hand, they wouldn't want to go. They'd want to just relax at home. It wouldn't take all day, but it's something we do. And then as they get older, it'd be more like a family time. That's when we talk about more about how the day went, or family gripes, or something that's not going well. Excuse me. So we would talk about things that are happening, and that's where it get a little deeper. All right.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, to stir, more deeper conversation to kind of see, how you can help them on more of a personal basis
Right.
as a parent.
And then the third thing that I recommend is, like I mentioned before, tuck them in at night, and you go to them. So when they're ready to go to bed, you go to their room. Don't make them come to you. That means you're creating the belief that I need to pursue love.
Oh, wow. Mm.
And so the role model is that I need to do all the work, especially with girls. I have to do the work to get loved. With boys, they don't really care as much, but you still want to show how important it is, and comfort.
Yeah, totally.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
that does.
my boys do it with their kids every night, and
Wow.
they got small kids.
That's amazing.
They're
Yeah.
100% involved with their children,
Wow. Wow. That's
and they work.
fantastic.
They're hard workers. They work all day.
Mm.
I one of my child is a lawyer, and the other one's a mental health therapist, or at least works with autistic children.
Wow.
So it's like they're busy. But
Yeah.
when they come home, 100% kids and their wife.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And because you show them the value of it, they see the value of it, regardless of how exhausted or tired they are from their day at work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's role modeling. I mean, so how
Yeah.
else are you going to
Totally.
learn?
Yeah. Right. Right.
It's all learned behavior. Okay, so and
Yes.
then we'll go with little kids. So again, if little kids, so I have found that little children are so vulnerable, but they're also so pliable.
Mm.
So so when my kids were young, we could buy an expensive big boat or something, whatever, and I mean a toy boat, and put it in the bathtub.
Mm.
Back then, I realized that just for the fun of it, it was back when they had carton milk, half gallon milk in cartons and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I would take those cartons and I'd make a boat out of it, or I would make a building blocks and put stuff over it, and they wouldn't care. I was unbelievable. That's why when Christmas, they play more with the box that the toy came in than they do the toy itself. So my point is that you get really creative. Like during young times, during family time, at night, sometimes we would play like little games, like hide and seek. They love that stuff. They like to be found, you know?
Yeah.
And hide and seek, or we'd play a board game. We'd often play board games, like whatever it is, Candyland or whatever it is, whatever age appropriate is.
Mm-hmm.
And so they learn how to win and lose. They learn how to especially win and lose. Sometimes, but you also learn how to cooperate. So that's how you learn. And so, little children, it's all about time. It's all about whatever time you want to give in. And so, okay, so let's just say somebody's hurting right now. A child's hurting, especially a little child's hurting. They let go of things a lot faster. So you just go up to them, cuddle up with them, talk to them about it, give them a nice hug, pat them on the back, ask them what they're feeling, and share. And you might have to say, well, do you feel this way when this happened? They say, yeah. That's why at the dinner table, you could say, let's say, so-and-so really did this and this to me. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What was it like when that happened? If I was your age, it'd hurt me and make me feel sad. Did it make you feel sad? Kids at an early age have to learn how to feel. They don't know how to equate an emotion word with an actual feeling. And we need to help them with that. So what I've done before, I don't have one with me, but for little kids, simply 5 and under, you can put on your refrigerator like 3 faces. You can put a round circle with a sad face with eyes, nose, sad face. You can have a round head with a happy face, and then you can have a round face, of course, with a mad face, like a pumpkin, mad with eyes, nose. And then when they're not feeling well, instead of asking, because little kids have a hard time with actually words still. When during that time of life, I ask them, what face do you have now? Happy, sad, or mad? And they tell you which one it is. And you can put the word underneath it, like happy, sad, and mad. So they're equating the emotion with that face. When they get older, you can get online or find anywhere, Google it, faces, emotional faces, and there's like 30 of them or 40 of them on a little.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And then ask them what do they feel, or ask them, did that make you feel sad or mad? I don't know. Well, when somebody hurts me, it oftentimes would make me feel hurt inside, and I'd feel really hurt about it because it'd make me feel sad. Yeah, that's what I feel. Says, oh, tell me about what happened when you felt that way. So you're helping them process it. That's why you think about it as an adult. Let's just say I had a tough day, and you go out with a friend or your spouse or whatever, and you sit down and have coffee, and you talk about your day. You talk about how bad it was. Don't we typically feel better when we get up and we're done? And that's called processing. So if I can tell the person what I'm feeling, what it does is it releases the emotion that makes me have that feeling. That's all about that energy. And again, this is all in my Breaking Emotion Barriers to Healing. If you grew up not expressing your feelings and having difficulty being able to express yourself, and you had to hold things in all the time, you're going to do that as an adult. It's learned behavior. So if you don't know how to express yourself, you need to learn, because otherwise it's going to create depression, anxiety, and a lot of other issues, even to the point where it's going to be physical issues. That's why the U.S. Center for Disease Control says that 92% of physical ailments have a original psychological event. Or
Wow, that's really high. 92%.
yeah, in my book, I talk about
Wow.
it was 85%, but they just upped it last year after COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 That is really
Well,
astounding.
that's why people that have a lot of arthritis and aches and
Mm,
pains and fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome and IBS and just all that stuff, even MS and all those internal things, is because I'm holding in a lot of emotion all the
mm.
time. And
Wow.
so when I work with people, when we find out all the succession in life of how you've been holding on to things, and I help them release the feelings, those physical issues go away. That's why prayer works, but sometimes it gets hindered by us holding on to a lot of emotion.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's why we got to get rid of it. So that's why if children can learn young to release emotion, you can help them identify the emotion and talk it out
Mm,
in a calm way. Don't get upset because they're upset. I mean, you may not like it, say, oh, that's really too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. But if
yeah.
you have a meltdown in front of them, they're not going to bring it up ever again.
Right. So you're helping them identify the emotions with language and knowing how to navigate in a healthy way these things so that when they become adults, they're not like confused in their head and in their emotions about how to recognize and navigate through these particular emotions.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to define it because if you can't define it, you can't identify it. If you can't identify it, then it just causes confusion. I think that's where the whole mental health situation comes into light because then you have other different voices telling you from culture, what it is, what it isn't, and then it's just a big. Sounds like then it becomes just a big hot mess. You know.
Right. Yeah, and we have a big part in that. But again, I need to emphasize that even if they're not feeling it now, you can always learn it. It's always learned. So, for example, I would
Mm,
recommend people going online on my website. And go to my bookstore. I've got a lot of books here for different things. For example, if you're married to or you are yourself one that has a lot of emotion that's stuck inside, like emotions don't come easy, I recommend this book, When
what?
Feelings Don't Come Easy. All right.
All right.
And then again, if you're married to somebody that's really doesn't express themselves, and you feel lonely in your own relationship, I recommend this one. You
Emotionally
mentioned,
unavailable,
yeah,
and these are all available where bookstores are sold, correct?
right. Well, and Amazon.
And
And if you
Amazon.
want more information about all these books, they can go on my website, Insights from the Heart, my bookstore, and it goes right to Amazon. Now, if they're struggling with worth issues about how they feel about themselves, this other one that I wrote, it's a small, really small devotional. It's a Declaring Your Worth. It's got 16 chapters of a miracle story of people feeling a certain way
Mm,
about being loved, about being worthy, about feeling hurt. And I am forgiven. I'm victorious. I'm free, significant, accepted, inheritance, blameless, wonderfully made. I mean, it's just a lot of them. And then it's a miracle story about how a person felt that way, and we shifted over.
mm,
And then you can read how you declare, I am accepted, what the Bible says about being accepted, and you read that declaration over yourself.
mm.
So, anyway, so I don't know how much time we have left. What do we have left here?
Yeah, we're coming near the hour here, so yeah, it's gone by quickly. All this important conversation on helping parents, raise their children in a very healthy and practical way. Uh, yeah, and showing the value and importance of that.
So, if you have a child, for example, that has a lot of emotional hurt, or things have happened, that hurt at school, or molested, or something, two things often happens. Number one, you got the hurt of the child, or an attitude, or they get behavioral issues, or you feel like they've been hurt by somebody else in their life, or even yourself.
Mm,
Obviously, you want to help focus on getting them some help. A counselor, I recommend a counselor that's familiar with working with kids and
mm,
can do a lot of internal help with them. But I also recommend to help the parent get some help. about how they can talk to their child. And that's why I'll always work with the parent. You know, if you have a counselor, if you have a child that's seeing a counselor and that counselor won't also work with you to help you know how to also help your child, I'd be concerned about you're not getting the whole picture,
Mm,
because it's not that the counselor can't help the child, but you're the one spending all the time with them and you're
mm,
the one trying to help them all the 20 other 5 days or 7 days of the week that you're not seeing a counselor. You need tips to know what to do to help your child. So
right.
go online and look at some things, find your own counselor. Definitely ask that counselor that's seeing your child what you can do to help improve the relationship. If I've had some counselors that don't even talk to their parent, which I don't
Mm.
understand why.
Yeah.
I'm all about that. And so if you get concerned about that, find another counselor. I mean, but the point is that there's two parts of this. One is the person that's been hurt, and it's the other person that's caring for the person that's been hurt.
Mm. Yeah, right, exactly. It's both
And,
ways.
and especially if you're a single parent
Mm,
or parents that have another part or somebody they've been, and you don't know what to do, and you feel helpless to helping, find someone for yourself to know how to navigate the hurt that your child's having when they come back from the other parent.
mm.
Or
Yeah.
I've had grandparents that come to me because they feel ostracized because they're not allowed to see their grandchild.
Mm,
Or I have spouses or parents that ostracized because they're not being allowed by another parent because there's a lot of gaslighting going on and they're
mm.
not being able to see. So get help for that, to know what to do, by an experienced counselor that would know what to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yes.
I do have I can work with people online to give them some things to what to do. Just go on insightsfromtheheart.com and I have a contact information there. And, you know, I help people I can. It's really by donation.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So everyone go and check out Craig Miller's website, insightsfortheheart.com. And if you know someone that has a need or you have a need yourself regarding this, yeah, go and you can learn more information about that there, as well as all the books that Craig has presented to us today, which is really valuable resources in navigating your own personal emotional health, as well as helping your kids' emotional health as well, and instilling that in them at a young age so they can navigate life and become also parents, you know, and raising their children where you're breaking any cycle of generational curses and, you know, instilling that foundation in them to leave a strong family legacy.
good words. That's exactly right. Let me say a prayer for those that are listening, okay?
Okay, please do.
Thank you, Father in heaven, for what you're going to do through the information that I've imparted, that the information you've given me and to give to others. And we just thank you, Lord, that there are parents out there right now that want to know more information and give it to them, even supernaturally, Lord. And we pray that they'll look to you. You are the Father Almighty that's over us, that loves us. You want, and so sometimes we don't know where else to go. So, Lord, I just thank you that they have you, Father in heaven, to just ask a question and just wait for the Lord to bring some answers. And I pray that you bring people into those that are listening's lives to help find answers, not only from God, also from other professionals and from other persons that may be of more older with some more experience. We just thank you that whatever is happening in their life, that they'll always seek their healing, seek understanding, and seek revelation, seek direction, and because the answers are always out there. We just thank you for bringing peace and uh, and shalom to those that are listening, and to bring healing in their lives and in the loved ones in their lives. We just thank you for this in the name and blood of Jesus. We pray and declare. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Wow. So there you have it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this episode. If you are a parent or know other parents that need help in their just in the capacity of being a parent and raising their children, this is the episode that you need to share with them to help them practically navigate, raising children. So yeah, well, this has been a really insightful and practical episode today. Really appreciate you sharing all this, Craig, in a very simple manner. I mean, like, things you're doing consistently, weekly meetings and being, eating at the table and bringing them, going to sleep at night, to bed, and, just doing these profound, simple things that can really, shape and mold and transform a life of a child for when they're an adult.
You're right, exactly right. So it's a matter of being consistent and being calm with it, and knowing that you're the parent, want to navigate them through it rather than reacting to their level. So you should always be reacting at a different level.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you for watching, listening, Talks with Gallagher. If you want to support the future of this broadcast, you can go to talkswithgallagher.com. And I'm just so glad, again, to have Craig with us today. And I look forward to joining us next time. So, all right, until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.